Well, guys, it's Friday afternoon, and we got some family stuff tonight, but I have a few hours to kill, so I want to get back on some wiring for this thing, but look what I got. Stop by Performance Fabrication today. They got our header done for us. So basically just weld this pipe. They put a 1-inch extension in here and just tied that back together like I had it, and look at this. They even took the pipe's decal off because this was upside down because I turned that pipe. They turned it around for me, even though you're never going to see it, but it's a little thing. So I'm going to take a few minutes before I go back to wiring and get this thing put in. Okay. Let me show you what we ended up with, and it sucked, just so you know. But so this is our underside view at the end of the day. As far as getting the header in, I mean, it went in fine. I just could not get to all the bolts. So I ended up having to jack the motor back up again with the engine hoist. I had to take the motor mount plate off the driver's side, take the alternator out, take the belt back off. There were 2 bolts that I just could not get to no matter what I did. So they're in there, they're done. We had to reposition that oil pressure sensor a little bit. It was pretty close to the header. I didn't like it. So I fixed that, put it all back together, and the motor is now officially in and staying in. I'm going to go through and pull my motor mount plate off, and then we're putting that intake on for hopefully the last time. So here we go. I spent a lot of time making this thing. And it was well worth it, I'll tell you that. As many times I put this motor in and out, this thing worked perfect. But before the intake can go on, I need to put this back in. I don't know what these things are. If anybody knows what they are, I don't know if there's something like a knock sensor or something. And they just bolt down under here, under the intake. Assuming they're important, so we're going to put them back in. There's a plug back there, so we'll plug that in after the intake's on. But first, I'm going to clean this wire up a little bit. Okay, I think we're ready for the intake, and if you didn't watch the last video, you probably didn't know that the intake showed up, did you? But it did. But I gotta get all the paper towels out of here, because it makes a mess if you don't. A very old friend of mine found that out the hard way when we were kids. Stuffed a bunch of, I think he used rags, stuffed them down, pulled the intake off, stuffed rags down all the runners, did whatever work they were doing, and then forgot to take them out and put the intake on and fired the engine up. And it sucked all the rags in and wrapped them around the valves, and it was a mess. And I don't want to do that, so. Okay, where are we at here? Intake is on and bolted down, plugged in, injectors are plugged in. I think everything's good that way. Next, I'm going to put the coil covers on because I want to see how they look. I don't know if you've seen last week's video when we made these. I already scratched it, look at that. Should have took it off before I jacked that motor up to put that frickin' header on, but I didn't. Anyways, you're never going to see it, so. It's hidden way back in there. Oh, I got to put the rubber plugs in the back. Oh my God, tight fit, are they gonna fit? Yes, they are. Oh, hopefully that don't sound like it's gonna be annoying at all. Oh, there you go, so it's not all the way. They shouldn't make too much noise. It's not like this one's the easy side. Other than that, I think they're pretty cool. Well, we got the coil covers on, intakes on, obviously, all that good stuff, and we're going to switch over. I got probably about a half hour left in the day, and I'm going to attempt to get this wiring stub through this hole. I put a 2-inch hole in there, and I have a lot of wiring that needs to go through there, and I don't remember where to start at. So, all these plugs, the big ones have to go through first, so I think these two are the biggest ones. So I just need to kind of get it in there, get all the plugs through. And this would be a lot easier with somebody on the other side grabbing, but whatever, I'll get through. This one's going to be tight. So it comes right out of the computer, and then there's a harness that comes off that plugs into the body harness, which I think is supposed to plug in out here on the Mustang anyways. But I don't want that. I think I can get them both inside here and then plug them in, and that'll just be one less harness out here. So what's this guy here? This is the OBD2 port. Need to quit stepping on stuff. And the throttle pedal. So this is the next biggest one that's got to go through. I've already put them through a 2-inch grommet here. So I just need to make sure I don't tie a big knot. What's this? No, that one. Yeah, that's engine. That has to go through next. That's the next biggest one. That was not as bad as I thought it would be. So we'll stuff that in there a little bit. Then this one. I know I'm going to tie this in a knot, and then I'm going to be screwed. So that's going to go through. Then the throttle pedal. Heater box on the other side. Okay, so that's all the big stuff through, right? This goes to the transmission. This one here, mass airflow. So the last one, this one goes to the PCM. Up here, this one goes to the PCM. This one here, it's a long one. This is basically all the shift commands and oil pressure, all that good stuff. So that's got to go through the grommet first. That's going to go over there. So now I just got to get the grommet in, which shouldn't be a big deal. Like that. And there's still some more wires that are going to have to go through there. I need battery for the fuse panel. I need the fan to come back out to turn the fan on. I got the fuel pump. But we got some holes over here too, so. That goes to the transmission. The engine harness, I believe, was the center plug, which should be right there. We'll route that up around there. And this guy will go up around here. We'll do some configuring on him. A lot of that can go through there yet, can't it? Yes, it can. Look at this. Oh, now my grommet pushed through. So we are going to fish some more of this into the cab because I don't need it out here. Yep, something like that. One thing at a time. So we have most of the harnesses through the firewall stubbed in for now. As soon as we get the computer back from the tuner, he's writing basically the program just to make this engine run for now, and then he's going to tune it once it's mobile. But for now, I need that computer so I can start plugging in the main harnesses and start tying this and clean this up. So I'm kind of ending that there. I did get the alternator wiring ran around and around, back and forth and through there. I got the temperature and the oil pressure for the Dakota digital gauges stubbed in here. Still trying to figure out all my main power wires because I'm going to need I need a 4 gauge going to the new fuse panel. I need a 4 gauge going to the starter. I need probably a 10 gauge going to the original fuse panel of the van to run the blinkers and brake lights and stuff like that. I need another 10 gauge, I think it's 10 gauge, going to the power steering pump. I haven't showed you that yet, have I? I'll show you that in a minute. Another 4 gauge going to the alternator, and that's what the factory calls for. But I bought a distribution box, but then I got thinking, where's the original distribution out of the Mustang? And so I went out and dug through my pile of scrap, and sure enough, there it is. So that's got already fused links and everything going for the alternator. Technically, the Mustang was electronic power steering anyway, so it's got at least a 10 gauge heading over for that, plus ground. It's got a lead coming off it that'll give me the 4 gauge. I'm gonna have to extend it, but that'll go into the new fuse panel, and then I'll tie in the 10 gauge for the old fuse panel somewhere along the line. I can't envision it all at one time. I just got to start knocking one thing at a time. But yeah, power steering pump. So the Coyotes, all Fords are electronic steering. There is no hydraulic power steering pump on a Coyote motor. And obviously this old van is a hydraulic power steering. So what we're going to experiment with, I've seen this on the internet, this is an electronic power steering pump out of a Volvo. This one's technically brand new. It said it was brand new off eBay, but it did have oil in it. So we'll see how that goes. But anyways, the theory behind this is it has keyed power. So as soon as you turn the key on or power up one wire, it turns that pump on. So that pump runs all day as long as the van's running, as long as the key's on. And I'm hoping that will be enough pressure to run this old steering system. If not, they actually make a controller. So from my understanding, this thing out of the box without the computer hooked to it will idle at 75% power. So as soon as I turn it on, it'll go 75% because it doesn't have the Volvo information coming to it from the computer telling it to ramp up or ramp down. But I can buy a controller that actually has a dial, and I can actually turn the pressure up or down. But a lot of people say you can run it right out of the box at 75% and it's good enough. So we're going to try that first. They do make conversions to put hydraulic power steering pumps on the motor, but I really don't like any of them, and I just don't like the way they look. So we're going to try this system. I mean, yes, it's a Volvo, but it does say FOMOCO on the hydraulic oil tank, because I don't know if Ford still owns Volvo, but they did own Volvo. I don't know, don't ask me, but it does say FOMOCO on it, so I'm good with that. So yeah, we made this little bracket here a couple weeks ago. It's all pumped in there. Went down to Bucos and Hydraulic. They whipped me up a couple power steering lines, and then ordered some wiring off of eBay, and I got to wire that up too. So anyways, the headers are on. I need to finish the exhaust yet. I got to put the drive shaft in, but I'm not going to put the drive shaft in because we are changing the rear end in this thing, because it has like a 290 rear end in it right now, and that's just going to be not enough for performance-wise. It's going to be great for fuel mileage, but it's not going to be any fun. So we're going to pull a rear end, a center section out of an old Bronco out of Jamie's shop, and that should have a 350 gear in it, plus at least a limited slip in it. This is a total one tire fire. This is, you spin anything, the right tire is the only thing that turns. So this thing will never spin the left tire, and that ain't going to be no fun. All right, we got most of the electrical wrapped up on the inside here. Let me show you where we're at with that. Like I said, I can't film a lot of this because it's taking forever. So down yonder here, we got the new fuse panel installed. So this is the original Ford fuse panel here. So this is for the van itself, headlights, taillights, blinkers, all that good stuff. That needs to remain in the van. I pulled the power off of that and tied it into the 4-gauge wire that's going to our new fuse panel. Now this fuse panel just runs basically just the engine and the cooling, fan, stuff like that. So I just built the bracket, welded it onto the existing bracket of the original fuse panel, and mounted that there. It all clears the brake pedal. Everybody's happy there. So this up here is our controller for the Dakota digital gauges, and basically it just mounts behind the dash here, and everything ties into it as far as like your blinkers and your speedometer, oil pressure, fuel or water temp, fuel setting unit, all your standard gauges that you would have on your dash tie into this. And then from there we just have basically just an RJ45 connector that's going to plug right back into the back of the dash. So for the most part, all the electrical is done. I know it looks like a mess right now, but this all is part of the dash. Once the dash goes in, then all that stuff plugs in. So we are ready to actually put the old dash back in the van and start tying up all this wiring. And I want to get the dash cluster in. I want to program the fuel sending unit since it's empty now before I put fuel in it. I know it reads empty, but I want to change some settings on it. So I think I'm going to get the dash thrown back in. So I was surfing the eBay the other night and I came across a vinyl decal kit for the Boss 302 intake. That's going to take it from this to this. Isn't that pretty cool? So that was competition orange, which surprisingly is very close to the orange on this 77. So anyways, I thought that was a cool touch. Okay, so we got the dash back in last night. Mostly back in anyways, all the screws are in. So I put the cluster in, and this is the new one from Dakota Digital, and it's all wired up to their control box. But when so I plugged in, this is the main harness to the new computer. So if you check this out, key on, listen. Everything's powering up. Basically the computer, everything's doing its checks anyways. The fuel pump is running, but it doesn't prime, it just turns on. So with that being said, I need to remember that this computer only has a total base tune in it. Basically it's just enough to start this engine and let it run. It's not going to do what it's supposed to do. That's what the tuner is for. That's his problem, not mine. But when I keyed it on last night, my oil pressure went to 60 pounds oil pressure, which is good oil pressure if the engine was running. But the engine, I haven't heard this engine run yet. So on the phone with them today, Dakota Digital. So the power by the hour wiring harness for the 6RE transmission has the speedometer pigtails in it, 3 wires to tell a digital instrument of some sort the speedometer signal. Dakota Digital does not understand that signal, nor is it going to understand that signal. I need to buy another box from Dakota Digital to plug into the OBD2 port, which will then steal the information out of the computer, pipe it into the other box, and then supposedly that's going to tell this. So I had to unhook all that crap. So kind of this Dakota Digital gauge thing is kind of throwing me for a loop. I'm to the point where I didn't really need to spend the money on it. I could have done the same thing with just switching. Never mind. I'm not going to get into it. Anyways, so I stopped on that because I didn't know if I had a wiring problem, but I don't. I'm just trying to wire something that's not capable of being wired that way. So with that being said, let me show you what's going on up front. So today I addressed hopefully the last major problem, which was a cold air intake of some sort to accept the factory Ford ports and fit in this van. And they don't make that, so I had to create that. So basically this is an Amazon special cold air universal intake doohickey. It's the only one that looked like it would fit in this configure, and it does. It actually, now it does anyways. But what I did have to do was bond the original plastic ports for these two ports onto drill holes in the intake and panel bond these onto that. This is aluminum, this is plastic. Obviously you can't weld those together, right? So panel bond it is, panel bond for the rescue. So that gives me everything I need that way. I still need to make a bracket. I'm probably going to come off this bolt right here, something to hold it. Right now it's just zip tied to the master cylinder because it's on a flex joint right here. So that's where we're at that way. Leak, coolant leak. Tracked it down to this line right here. So this line was originally on the passenger side of the engine, is where the original crash came in at. So this line is actually leaking right here. It's just dripping, running down. It looks like it's coming from everywhere, but it's not. It's just literally running down, dripping on stuff, and then running all kinds of different directions. So therefore, it looks like it's leaking out of the back of the engine and the front of the engine at the same time, which it's not. It's just dripping out of there. So a new line is on order. It was actually supposed to be here today, but it did not show up. Evidently, FedEx is going to drive around for a few days for me. So it is what it is. We'll wait on that. Other than that, honestly, I think this thing's ready to try to start it. I've keyed it on already, and I got power to everything, I think. But I haven't tried cranking it because you know how these new cars are. Once you hit the crank position, it's going to take over for you. So it's not going to just stop cranking. It's going to go until it either starts or times out or starts on fire. What, I don't know which one's going to happen. So I think the only thing left to do is try cranking it and see what it does. Now, with that being said, like I said before, this has a base tune in the computer, so it's not going to start idle and run. He said I might have to give it some throttle to get it to start until it kind of learns, maybe. I really don't know. The other side is there's no exhaust on this thing. We're running open long tube headers. This is just a test fire to see if it actually runs, if it starts and runs and idles for 10 seconds. That's all I need to know. So I can't think of any other reason not to try this. So let's do it, I guess. Oh boy. And I don't know if I mentioned that I've never heard this engine run before. It was broke beyond starting when I bought it. So I don't know. Nothing. Okay. That was uneventful. Blue and white wire right there is tied in. Coming off of that guy. Ground. No cranky cranky. Alright, let's jump. Let's jump the starter and see if we have a bad starter. Okay, your old jumper packer. One on you. Hey. So it's not. Okay, we're not getting a trigger down. Why not we're getting a trigger down? Alright, back to research. Well guys, I wish I had some better news for you, or better news for myself, but I checked all the wiring, double checked all the wiring. It's pretty frickin' basic. I mean, you got one wire that goes to the start signal. Got it. You got a start wire that goes to the solenoid. It says starter on it. It's on the starter. Basically, the computer, from what we've gathered, the computer is not sending the start signal. It's probably seeing it, but it's not sending the signal to the starter to obviously crank the motor. Most likely, it's the PAT system. I did talk to the tuner, so this is the next day. So I did talk to him last night, and he said he has seen it where it doesn't take the first time, and he has to reflash it a second time. So that's our possibility that we're going with right now. And then I did also verify with him about the fuel pump running constantly. Usually when you key it on, the fuel pump should prime, 2 seconds or whatever, and then shut off. And I assumed it was just because it had a bass tune in it, and that's why it was running constantly. And he said, no, it should not run constantly. And he was concerned with the wiring issue, but it's like, again, this is a pretty straightforward system. There's a wire pre-stubbed out of the harness that says fuel pump. You hook it to the fuel pump. I mean, there's nothing else. This is all plug and play. So either there's a problem with the harness, which there should not be, but you never know. We don't know. This is where we're at. He has the computer. I took it back out last night, dropped off to him this morning. It's going to take him a few days to get caught up. He's going to re-bench flash it again. We could have a problem with the computer. The computer might be junk. I mean, I did buy it off eBay, you know. I need to take this sticker off here. So it's possible that there is an issue, and that's why the computer was on eBay. And if it continues, we're going to have to do one of two things. A, get a different computer, which is, again, no big deal. I can just go to the junkyard and get one out of any 50 F-150 or Mustang, as far as that's concerned, because he's wiping the computer of everything it knows and starting with a base program, and then he will tune this motor to this vehicle, to this drivetrain when we're done. But we can't do that until the engine starts. So it's possible we got a junk computer. It's possible just the flash didn't take it the first time, or it's possible that there is a factory issue with the harness. But we're not going to know. We got to eliminate one, so we're going to start with the computer. He's going to reflash that, get it back in a couple days. I'm going to take those couple days to tie up some loose ends. I got to make a mount for the cold air intake here. I got the new heater hose that was leaking. I got that in this morning, so I'm going to install that quick. I'm just going to button up a few things. I got to button up a vacuum line here, and then I'm going to start on the exhaust. So yes, I'm running side pipes on this van. I think it's true 70s. I think that's the way it should be. That's the theme I'm going for. We do have body mods that are going to go with the side pipes, but this is what we're going with. These are original old school 70s, maybe early 80s thrush outsider side pipes. I've obviously taken the time to polish the ends. Like I said, these are original, old school, used. So we spent quite a few hours cleaning them up, but I'm going to get some brackets made to get those mounted on the van. We're waiting for exhaust parts to come, again, from eBay. No, they're not coming from eBay. Amazon, stainless, 2-inch, huge exhaust, because that's as big as an exhaust pipe is that you can fit in the outsider. So this is the stock exhaust. These are the stock mufflers for the thrush side pipes. And they are 2-inch diameter, so doesn't do us any good to put huge exhaust on the van because it's going to get piped into 2-inch muffler as it is. And then we'll see how it sounds. If I don't like it, I'll cut it off and throw it away. It's just the way it is. But anyways, that's all for this week. I know it's been a couple weeks, but it is what it is. We're running into problems one after another, as I knew I would. So we're just going to keep whittling them out. When we get the computer back, we will start another video on it. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Catch you on the next one.